Hi, welcome. On this video, it's part of my series called Flipping the Script. I'm going to be providing insight into this very popular idea that training is a learning-based exercise by way of a video, which really showcases the problem by way of bribery-based methods with trainers who use treats in a attempt to change a dog's behavior. What I focus in on in terms of a way in which a dog is expressing control towards other dogs. In this case, title of the video is chasing after vehicles. And again, the comment I make regarding why it's impossible to showcase bribery without it really showcasing why you don't want to bribe dogs. Well, this video really serves to illustrate that point. Here in this video, put out again by Zach George, who's a social media dog trainer. And again, I understand there's a reason when you go into videos of those who identify as force-free, what you see is you're going to find a lot of videos that look like infomercials back in the 80s, but just a total lack of transparency by way of really showing how great this ideology really works. And in this example here, when they do bring it out into the open, it's a mess. It really shows why you want to steer clear of those who use treats to try to overcome issues related to a relationship problem. Because when I again talk about a relationship problem and trainers who try to turn a relationship problem into a type of a learning-based exercise, I reference the parenting example often on my videos for a reason, because it lines up almost perfectly in terms of outcomes. And again, when you talk about a parenting example between a relationship problem between a parent and a selfish child, and when I talk about this bribery-based idea of things, why it sets in motion a counterfeit picture for so many within the framework of response, consider the dot that isn't being connected by way of the relationship itself. The current state of the relationship, just like once a child has become selfish, behavioral issues escalate. Okay, the relationship starts to go sideways. And in terms of, again, I talk about at the social level, the critical role, just like the parent-child example, the critical role of the role the parent plays by way of a better relationship. And then again, connecting the dot, okay, by way of the parenting style that's in play, the themes that go along with that. Again, I talk about the role of influence by way of relationship. And why it is when I'm talk about the role of influence to intercept a expressed state. Okay, so you're going to see it here demonstrated in this video in terms of trying to change focus rather than intercept a expressed state. Okay, as a dog is expressing control towards vehicles. Okay, and this attempt by way of using treats to try to gain some sort of leverage or advantage, change focus, but utterly fails. Okay, again, because understand that, again, once a dog gains a level of control in the relationship and it's manifesting, the core ingredients by way of influence and control need to come into a process. They need to play a specific role when it comes to a dog's state of mind. It's important to understand, again, when you're using treats to try to, redirect focus, it's no different than, again, in terms of, the parenting example, engaging in the themes of bribery, accommodation, and negotiation. So again, just like even certain concepts are problematic by way of such as a counter conditioning, with using treats to, to build bridges in terms of, gaining agreeableness, okay, by way of establishing a different association. But it's all about context. And again, just like gaining agreeableness with a selfish child by way of engaging in bribery, absolutely you can gain agreeableness within certain moments by following those themes, but it doesn't mean whatsoever that the relationship is actually getting any better. And this is why, again, you take snapshots of certain moments by way of engaging in bribery, it's no different than those moments that are you see on these trainers' social media by way of video content. There's a reason why you don't see the full picture. And by here on this video, you're going to see a good part of it as we move along here, as Zach George is, working with this dog owner to try to overcome this issue. So I'm going to play some of this video, stop along the way, as Zach George pulls out the treats to try to stop this dog from chasing after vehicles.
A lot of energy. He's very curious.
How old is he now?
8 months old.
And he's just constantly investigating. Tell me the issues you're having with him.
When he walks on a leash, he's pulling and he's chasing and lunging at cars.
Oh, yeah.
And barking at them.
That's a tough one. Why don't we go outside? Let's see how he does when cars drive by and when you take him
That's a tough one, especially when it comes to bribery.
on a walk, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So right here, I mean, and again, just pay attention here. When you see the experienced bribery-based dog trainers engaging in, a relationship issue, there's certain things to pay attention to, okay, by way of this idea of things. And they're all about not bringing a dog under any sort of reasonable control, okay? Again, so when we talk about intentional control, how that aligns to even how a dog owner is handling the leash, okay? And so you'll see these trainers who it's all about their feelings. It's all about, they talk about the comfort of the dog. And again, talk about this whole thing with the, even the inability to even, be able to reconcile certain reactions to the relationship. And again, the video I put out called the ice cream truck example really illustrates this point by way of my example in terms of a interaction between a parent and a selfish child outside the ice cream truck, where a child's getting the ice cream, but the parent says no to the sprinkles. And being a casual observer to this interaction, as the child goes into a major, meltdown, no pun intended, as they're rolling around the ground and they're having a major temper tantrum, and say you looking at that, or a person looking at that and looking at cause and effect, look at the physical response side of things, assuming that the parent must have physically struck the child to generate that type of reaction, versus understanding that no, it's actually about the relationship and the fact the child's a brat, okay, and selfish, and the response is being generated by way of the child's bad attitude. And so again, when I talk about this whole thing with as a dog gains control in a relationship and it's manifesting, okay, towards, in this case, wanting to chase after, vehicles, movement, expressing control towards other dogs, situations. And so this whole thing with, again, how trainers like Zach George attempt to turn this into a learning-based exercise because they don't connect dots that way. You won't actually hear them talk about relationship that way. Just like when I mentioned use the parenting example with the selfish child, and you start to connect dots by way of as a child becomes more and more selfish, behavioral issues escalate. And the parental role is absolutely critical when it comes to reversing course. And even I talk about this whole issue about influence. Again, you hear certain words in the dog training world such as corrections, punishment, discipline, certain tools such as remote collars. Understand that everything is about how it filters through the relationship. Okay, it's about it being personal in terms of how we're connecting with dogs. Dogs as social animals, how they connect with us at that level. And so, as we're interacting with dogs at all points of the relationship, okay, it brings in those core ingredients of influence and control in such a way that meets a dog's social needs. Versus, again, you'll see this with dog owners who attach or connect with dogs at a very emotional level. And so there's a void, so to speak. There's a vacuum when it comes to those core ingredients by way of leadership, by way of intentional control, influence happening in the relationship. And so what that does is it starts to create this effect in terms of a dog's, dogs, again, are pack animals, okay, and how they connect with that way. Strength and weakness being defined through the relationship that way, it starts to manifest through behavioral issues and how a dog's mind, again, starts to reach out, control being expressed, But here's the problem. Again, when you get trainers such as Zach George and others, um, even balanced dog trainers aligned with this ideology, it sets up the problem by way of, again, those core ingredients missing from a process. And so here, pay attention here, Zach George, okay? Understand there's nothing here, even in terms of lining this up with getting this dog owner to even bring this dog under a level of reasonable control and start to intercept, okay, this dog state of mind. Again, this is one of the big confusing issues in the dog training world, is the role of influence. I talk about, as controls manifesting by way of a dog's state of mind, the proactive, okay, nature of influence to intercept just as a dog is fixating. Okay, this issue about stinking thinking, as I call it. Just like, again, the selfish child example, once a child becomes selfish, it's all about them. Okay, their thinking process isn't the right way. They enter into a certain environment or situation. They're driven by their selfishness. Okay, their thinking is contaminated, so to speak, by way of relationship, by way of how they think. And so here, dogs as social animals, what you see is that it's the same thing. Everything starts to become a supply source. You'll see a dog's head pivot. You'll see the fixation start. So a look turns into more than just a look very quickly. And so the issue here with being able to intercept, okay, the dog's state of mind just as control is being expressed. Understand this is what makes dogs more agreeable, makes sense to the dog. But here, with those who identify as force-free, what you find is their whole framework is about bribery. Okay, they don't want to bring a dog under intentional control. Then the problem starts to become, once a dog has this level of control, there's a stress load on the dog. And so what happens is people get very upset because you see dogs start to go into levels of challenge. They have certain reactions. And then it becomes all about trying to, engage in bribery to gain agreeableness. But consider, just like a selfish child having a bad attitude. And again, the example I use is a child's mouthing off at a parent, is a parent suddenly pulling a chocolate bar out of their back pocket and, kind of holding it to the side. And now the child stops mouthing off and their focus shifts to the chocolate bar. And there appears to be what presents itself as a calm moment. But understand that this is what dog trainers are doing in the dog training world. They're trying to find, and you'll see it here, a way to kind of work off of a moment where they're using treats to generate agreeableness or change focus, and while they're assuming that those moments are something to work off of, that those moments represent the perception of dogs are changing, which is utterly ridiculous because it's based on nothing. Okay, understand those core elements, those core ingredients are not part of the process to begin with, influence and control. And so those are what reveal truth. Okay, just like when you start to, put a dog under intentional control and influence, for a dog holding control, you'll see challenge rise up to the surface. But absent those core ingredients, right, you start to engage in using treats and bribery. What happens is certain moments will offer up false hope, a counterfeit image of change. This is why dogs can look very balanced in the home environment as they're moving around, as people are petting on them, even while they're gaining an incredible amount of control in the relationship, and then people get blindsided. They don't even know, like, where did that come from? Everything looked okay. But understand the truth is revealed by way of those core ingredients, influence and control, being part of a interaction. Just like, again, use the example of the parent who, the moments that they put a child under demand to pick up their toys because you're the parent, versus pick up your toys and here's $100. Okay, think about, the difference of that, but what's revealed through that. And so by way of parental influence being part of a demand on the child, what is going to be revealed through a selfish child that has a tendency to not want to do certain things, well, guess what? There's going to be pushback. Truth is revealed versus here's $100. And I understand the entire dog training world is based on jumping in to a relationship problem and pulling out treats and bribing dogs to respond. And then even the word behavior is brought into that framework, trying to allude that there's something deeper going on, and typically there isn't. Okay, dogs are just moving around, going through the motions, responding, and that's become a standard. I mean, that's become the criteria for change. That's become, how trainers see perceptions changing without the basis for anything. Because again, those two core ingredients are missing. So understand through the system of training is interaction based. Okay, the motivator is the relationship. I do not use treats. I do not motivate dogs that way because I understand how that sets up a deceptive picture for so many dogs and owners. The very thing that guys like Zach George are doing.
Wow. Oh boy. So he lunges straight at the car. Would he be responsive to treats?
So here we go. I mean, would he be responsive to treats? See, there's nothing here about, okay, let's get some control over this dog. You need to start to intercept this level of stinking thinking. Nothing. Okay, the treats come out. Okay, and they attempt to, to gain some level of, focus. But understand, again, I talk about the context of focus. This is why even when I use a parent example, it's like and how these trainers, how they elicit or generate focus. It's no different than a child going to a parent because they get what they want. They get their ice cream. And so by way of this very permissive bribery-based ideology, trainers try to pass off focus, how they're generating focus, as without, they don't want anyone to question anything. And so just by default, it's the right focus, okay, which oftentimes is totally upside down. Okay, oftentimes it's attachment and possessiveness, okay, and it's not the dog perceiving the person through right relationship. By way, again, those two core ingredients, changing focus the right way. So here you have Zach George immediately, okay, pulling the treats out.
At all?
Yeah, he likes treats.
Even in the presence of a car passing?
No.
Come here.
So this is where, okay, you get into, issues where understand control is about fulfillment. Okay, it's control is manifesting. It's about, it's about expressing that state. It's like a drug. And so, you can back a dump truck up here, here with the treats in the back, and this dog's going to continue to express control. Because right here, what Zach George is doing, this has nothing to do with shining the spotlight on just like the role of the parent, properly. It's nothing to do with auditing the parenting style, so to speak, with those, again, talk about the authoritative parenting style with those core ingredients, influence and control, as part of it. There's nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with trying to make it about the dog the wrong way, trying to turn this into a learning-based exercise, and this is all about bribery.
Come on.
And so notice here, and so this is the thing, you see these treat trainers doing this where they're so desperate. I mean, they're really desperate to try to, establish a moment, okay? And you see this all the time, a neutral moment, they call it, a moment. And they try to package that moment up as significant, as if that's, the criteria for, as if, the perception is changing in that moment. But the thing that people have to ask themselves or question is, just like the parenting example, like it'd be like someone coming into your home environment to help out with a relationship problem with your selfish child, and they're coming in like Santa Claus with a bag of, goodies over their, shoulder, and the only thought process going on, okay, is how can I get this child to respond so I can package those responses up as changes happening, without sitting down with the parent, without auditing the parenting style, nothing, okay, just superficial response that way, and then just, walking out, you're left holding the bag, both the bag of goodies and holding the bag when it comes to a ongoing relationship problem. And what's typical is, again, just like, people will question it and say, well, why hasn't the relationship gotten any better? Like, I've been engaging in, this idea about learning and using treats, and I'm still dealing with all these, unresolved issues. And then what's typical is that trainers will just pass the buck and say, well, there must be something wrong with the dog. Happens all the time. Oh, there must be something genetically wrong with the dog. Versus, no, there's everything wrong with the process because it's based on bribery. And no one's questioning anything. Because understand, when you get the amount of trainers doing this that you have, balanced and force-free, all doing it, then blaming dogs seems to be normal. So here you got Zach George trying to generate a moment.
See, not interested at all in the treatments. Now he's quiet. Now I'm actually going to seize this opportunity to reward if he'll take.
See right here. So here, no cars going by. And so this is his opportunity to what? To do what exactly? To change focus, bribing this dog. And he's trying, and watch this, that George's going to try to package this up.
Get. Yes, good dog.
Okay, it looks like there's a lot of work to do here. I need to see that
Looks like there's a lot of work to do.
Brody listens well when Denise asks for his attention around less severe distractions while inside.
Show me how he's doing with leave it and look at me.
Brody, leave it. Oh, might have gone
Well, okay, so he slipped up.
Sit.
So you always make him sit beforehand or not?
I usually do.
Okay.
So they sit, and again, just like bribing these dogs. So I talk about a response. This is where the word behavior keeps getting brought into the mix here by many trainers, good balanced dog training, saying, reward the dog or so the behavior will happen again. The reality is it's just a superficial response. Okay, the two missing ingredients here, influence and control, they're absent. And so trainers are assuming, right, that those responses represent some sort of a standard. It's utterly ridiculous. But understand that this has gone on for so long, and look at the state of the dog training world, how common it is for people to invest time, money, and energy in this idea only to discover that nothing's changed. Right? I understand this is the go-to, this is the default setting, this is the jumping in point by way of the majority of trainers.
Leave it.
Good, so he's leaving it. And look, he's automatically looking up to you.
He's automatically looking at you. But just like in the permissive parenting style, permissive parenting, it's the same thing. Just because a child goes to a certain parent over and over again to get what they want, because understand that once a dog gains control in and through the human, that becomes a motivator. Control itself becomes a motivating agent through the relationship. Okay, so it goes beyond just treats. It goes to this very heart of the issue in terms of the relationship itself. But here you have someone like Zach George trying to pass this off as, oh, the dog's looking at you. That's just automatically a good thing. And people who have a lot of emotions going on in the relationship will just automatically buy into that because they'll see that as the dog loving them more. But again, understand the whole thing here is the ability to be able to actually come out on the other side of a process with a predictable outcome. So here, my encouragement, again, you watch bribery come out in the open in this, you're seeing a problem, okay? You're seeing right away, this dog, here's a good example, they're just lunging and lunging and lunging. And the trainers are trying to, trying to work off of something. But again, just consider, just like the parenting examples, it'd be like high-fiving, 5 minutes in after coming like Santa Claus, it's like doing high-five, say, way to go. I mean, the question is, do you honestly believe that those responses 5 minutes into dealing with a very selfish child and you're using a brand new Xbox game to get them to pick up their toys, that it's just like you're just thinking that things are just turning right around based on engaging that way? I mean, that's so ridiculous. But that's the state of the dog training world. Understand that this is what's happening in the dog training world. There's no critical thinking. There's no connecting dots properly by way of relationship. There's no understanding about influence and control being part of a process to reveal and to change. There's none of it. And and again, these trainers are out there just pushing this forward, marketing this, and then look at all the inherent problems in the dog training world. Just how much blame shifting is going on towards dogs. Look at all the divisiveness. Who's right and who's wrong. And meanwhile, dog owners continuing to struggle in finding answers in their relationships with their dogs, even after investing all this energy into this ideology. So my encouragement is understand that what training is and what it isn't. Training is not a learning-based exercise once a relationship problem is underway. That doesn't even make sense. And training is an intervention, and again, it follows a path of a intentional interaction-based method, which again reconciles both the role of the owner as well as bringing into a process those two core ingredients I talk about, influence and control, by way of changing perception of dogs the right way. Thanks for watching.